The man was on his knees polishing the marble floor when 3 black embassy vehicles rolled into the school courtyard under the blazing afternoon sun. Teachers stopped talking. Students pressed their faces against classroom windows. Security guards straightened their uniforms nervously as suited officials stepped out carrying sealed folders and scanning the campus with urgent eyes. Everyone thought they had come for the principal. Some whispered that maybe a foreign inspection team had arrived. But then the lead officer asked a question that froze the entire building in silence. "Where is Kareem Ansari, the janitor?" Before we begin this emotional journey, take a moment to like, comment, share, and subscribe to the channel, Wisdom Story House, if you believe kindness and second chances can change a person's destiny. Stories like this remind us that even the most invisible people may carry the brightest light inside them. The government school stood at the edge of the old city, surrounded by dusty roads, noisy tea stalls, and broken sidewalks shimmering under the heat of midday. Children from poor families filled its cracked classrooms every morning carrying worn bags and hopeful dreams. Among all the teachers, clerks, and workers, there was one man nobody really noticed. Kareem Ansari arrived before sunrise every day in the same faded gray uniform, carrying a rusted lunchbox and an old bicycle that squeaked loudly whenever he pedaled through the gate. He swept corridors, cleaned washrooms, repaired broken chairs, and wiped muddy footprints from classroom floors while students rushed past him without even looking at his face. Most people simply called him the janitor. Some didn't even know his name. Kareem was 58 years old, thin as dry bamboo, with tired eyes and rough hands scarred by years of labor. His hair had turned silver long ago, and there was always a quiet sadness resting on his face. Yet every morning he greeted everyone with warmth, even those who ignored him. He often carried extra bread in his pocket to feed stray cats near the playground. When children forgot their water bottles, he shared his own. When someone cried, Kareem somehow noticed before anyone else. But kindness did not protect him from humiliation. The younger staff mocked the way he spoke soft English while cleaning classrooms. Students laughed whenever they saw him reading old newspapers during lunch breaks. Some teachers treated him like furniture, speaking about him while standing right in front of him. The principal, Rashid Mera, was especially harsh. He believed workers like Kareem should remain invisible and silent. Whenever inspectors visited, Kareem was ordered to stay out of sight so the school would appear more professional. No one knew that decades earlier, Kareem had once worn polished shoes instead of torn sandals. No one knew he had studied literature at one of the finest universities in the country. No one knew he could speak 4 languages fluently or that he once dreamed of becoming a diplomat. Life had buried those dreams under tragedy, poverty, and heartbreak so deep that he never spoke about them anymore. Years ago, Kareem had worked as a translator for international aid organizations. He traveled across countries, helping refugees communicate with foreign officials during times of conflict. His work mattered. His future looked bright. Then one terrible accident changed everything. A bus carrying his wife Samina and young daughter Aisha crashed during a rainstorm on a mountain road. Kareem lost both of them in a single night. The grief destroyed him completely. He abandoned his career, disappeared from public life, and spent years drifting from city to city doing small jobs just to survive. Eventually he found work as a janitor at the school because it required no interviews, no explanations, and no memories. For 15 years, he cleaned floors while carrying the silence of a broken heart. One summer afternoon, a transfer student named Ibrahim joined the school. He was shy, intelligent, and painfully poor. His father drove a rickshaw while his mother stitched clothes late into the night. Ibrahim struggled in English class and became a target for bullying. One day after school, Kareem found him crying behind the staircase while trying to finish a difficult assignment. Instead of walking away, Kareem sat beside him and gently explained the lesson in perfect English. The boy stared at him in shock. From that day onward, Ibrahim began spending afternoons with Kareem after classes. They sat under the giant neem tree in the courtyard while Kareem taught him grammar, pronunciation, history, and confidence. Slowly, Ibrahim transformed. His grades improved dramatically. Teachers assumed he had hired an expensive tutor, but the truth remained hidden. Kareem never wanted recognition. Helping the boy gave him a reason to wake up each morning. Soon other struggling students quietly joined them under the neem tree. Kareem never refused anyone. He taught without books, using stories and examples from life. He explained geography through memories of countries he had visited years earlier. He taught literature with such emotion that children who hated reading began arriving early just to hear him speak. For the first time in years, laughter returned to Kareem's life. Still, most staff members remained unaware of who he truly was. One morning, an arrogant senior teacher caught students gathered around Kareem during break time. Furious, he accused the janitor of wasting students' time and pretending to be educated. The teacher humiliated Kareem in front of everyone, snatching a notebook from his hands and throwing it into a puddle. The children watched helplessly as Kareem quietly bent down, picked up the soaked notebook, and apologized even though he had done nothing wrong. That moment shattered Ibrahim. The boy went home crying and wrote a long essay for an international student competition organized by a foreign embassy. The topic was "The Person Who Changed My Life." Ibrahim poured his soul into every line, describing the old janitor who taught forgotten children beneath a tree while hiding his own pain behind gentle smiles. He wrote about dignity, sacrifice, and invisible heroes. He wrote about Kareem. Weeks passed, and nobody thought about the competition again. Then came the day the embassy vehicles arrived. The entire school gathered in confusion as embassy officials stood in the courtyard asking for Kareem Ansari. Principal Rashid nervously ordered someone to call him immediately. Kareem appeared moments later carrying a mop bucket, sweat on his forehead, unaware that hundreds of eyes were suddenly fixed on him. The lead embassy officer stepped forward with visible emotion in his face. He shook Kareem's trembling hand and addressed him with respect nobody at the school had ever shown before. He announced that Ibrahim's essay had won first place among thousands of entries across the country. But the embassy had not only investigated the essay, they had verified every detail. They discovered Kareem's forgotten past, his humanitarian work, and his years of silent service helping poor students for free. The courtyard became completely silent. Then the officer revealed something even more shocking. One of the embassy's senior cultural advisors recognized Kareem's name immediately. Years earlier, Kareem had helped save dozens of displaced families during a border crisis by serving as an emergency translator between foreign agencies and local communities. His work had prevented violence and protected innocent lives. Many officials still remembered him with deep gratitude, but nobody knew where he had disappeared after the tragedy that destroyed his family. Now, after decades, they had finally found him again. Students stared at the janitor they had ignored for years as though seeing him for the first time. The embassy officer then opened a sealed folder and announced that Kareem Ansari was being honored with an International Humanitarian Recognition Award for his lifelong service to education and human dignity. They also offered him a position as a cultural advisor for educational outreach programs abroad. Several teachers lowered their heads in shame. Principal Rashid's face turned pale. The same man he once ordered to hide during inspections was now being respectfully escorted by diplomats. But the most emotional moment came unexpectedly. The embassy officer handed Kareem another envelope. Inside was a scholarship letter for Ibrahim, covering his education all the way through university. The boy burst into tears. His parents fell at Kareem's feet, unable to speak through their sobbing. Kareem quickly lifted them up with trembling hands, tears rolling down his own cheeks under the harsh afternoon sunlight. For the first time in 15 years, the old janitor cried openly. News spread rapidly across the city. Journalists arrived. Former students came back searching for the quiet man who once encouraged them when nobody else believed in them. Stories emerged one after another about Kareem secretly paying exam fees for poor children, buying shoes for students during winter, and visiting sick parents in hospitals after long workdays. People realized that while society looked down on him, Kareem had spent years quietly holding broken lives together. Days later, the school organized a ceremony in his honor. The same courtyard where he once swept dust every morning was now decorated with flowers and banners carrying his name. Students stood in rows clapping as Kareem walked slowly toward the stage in a simple clean suit gifted by the embassy staff. But Kareem's speech left everyone shattered emotionally. He spoke softly about loneliness, about grief, about how pain can either harden the heart or deepen it. He admitted there were nights he wanted to disappear from the world completely after losing his wife and daughter. Yet he said the children at the school unknowingly saved him. Every student who smiled at him, every child who asked for help, gave him another reason to continue living. He explained that dignity does not come from titles or wealth. It comes from how gently a person treats others when nobody is watching. Many people in the audience cried silently. Then Kareem looked toward the old neem tree where he used to teach students after school. For a brief moment, his tired eyes softened with distant memories. He confessed that every time he taught children there, he imagined his daughter Aisha sitting among them, listening proudly. The entire courtyard broke into tears. If this story has touched your heart so far, take a moment to like, comment, and share this video with someone who needs hope today. Stories like Kareem's remind us that the people we overlook may be carrying battles, wisdom, and kindness greater than we can ever imagine. Months later, Kareem prepared to leave for his new role abroad. But before departing, he made one final request to the embassy. Instead of spending money on a farewell event, he asked them to build a free library at the school for underprivileged children. The request was granted immediately. On the library's opening day, sunlight poured through wide windows onto shelves filled with books. Children ran inside laughing with excitement. Above the entrance hung a simple plaque with words that brought tears to every visitor's eyes. In honor of Kareem Ansari, who proved that no human being is ever just a janitor. Before we reach the ending, comment, kindness sees what the world ignores, if you believe every person deserves respect no matter their job or status. On the morning Kareem finally left the city, hundreds of students gathered outside the school gate holding handmade signs and flowers. Some cried openly. Others simply stood silently, unable to express what the old janitor meant to them. As the embassy vehicle drove away under the golden morning sunlight, Kareem looked back one last time at the school that had witnessed both his deepest sorrow and his quiet rebirth. For years, people saw a man cleaning floors. They never realized he was rebuilding lives. And somewhere beyond the crowded streets, beyond the noise and dust of the city, Kareem finally carried something he had not felt in decades. Peace. If this story moved your heart even a little, don't forget to like, share, comment, and subscribe to Wisdom Story House for more emotional journeys that remind us humanity still exists in this world.